Gul Damar doesn't trust Ziyal. Quark wants Ziyal to make Hasperat souffle. And Gul Dukat drops the ball in more ways than one. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Seventh Rule with Cirroc Lofton.
Hello, everybody.
Today we're doing a review of Deep Space Nine, Season 6, Episode 6, Sacrifice of Angels, written by Ira Steven Behr and Hans Beimler, directed by Alan Craker. This was November 3rd, 1997. It's a NOG episode, so we are joined by Melissa Longo, of course.
Hello.
And what do you know? You know her as Celia Morales on Melrose Place. Melanie Smith has joined us. Which everybody's like, that's not what we know her from. We know her as the shrinkage lady on Seinfeld.
or the promiscuous one on As the World Turns, Emily Stewart.
Ooh,
Emily Stewart, yeah.
We were talking a little bit before we hit record about Melanie's fun on Seinfeld, and there's a lot to talk about there because we love Seinfeld, or at least I do. But everybody here does know her as Ziyal on Deep Space Nine, and so we're so happy to have you in this great episode and completing your awesome arc. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, really, really special to have you. And you know, this is your big episode. I hate that you're here for this particular episode, but it's like
I requested it. It was my favorite.
I mean, it was a great episode. I love the performance in it. But in general, I mean, it's like you've been in so many episodes, and now we're finally getting a chance to talk to you, and it's like, the last moment.
Just in time.
It's like a great thing. Like, you know how much fun it is to have a death scene in your career?
Yeah.
There's not a lot of actresses that get a death scene.
Right.
Yeah.
You're right. Yeah, you're right. I got a chance to die in one episode on our show, in this kind of dreamlike episode, in Far Beyond the Stars, but I wasn't my character.
Yeah.
So,
Right.
but I still got the chance. So, yes, it's like life after death after that moment.
But it's very, the thing that I did love about Star Trek so much was when you're trained for the theater, you want to be theatrical, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so much of television, particularly coming from my early work on As the World Turns, for so many years, you're very much a talking head, Mm-hmm. And so being able to be much more dramatic and to be behind a mask like that and create another worldly being was so much fun. It really was so much fun. The makeup was not fun, but the work, yeah.
Actually, can you tell us a bit more about the pros and cons of working behind all of that makeup and all those prosthetics? Because a lot of people, they say, as they're getting the makeup put on them, it almost helps to develop their character as they're looking in the mirror and they're seeing this. But then there's also the difficulties of acting through all of that makeup and all the expressions that you're used to making that you can't make anymore. I don't know if there were more pros or more cons to that.
For me, the makeup was hard. I mean, it was 4.5 hours in the morning, and then it was about 2.5 hours to take it off. Because if you rip that, although some Mark used to come in and they just rip it off his face. You're like 19, aren't you? Your skin just looks like hell. But I didn't just have makeup on. I also had a wig on, and there were like if you got a bobby pin jobbing in your head, you had to deal with that all day, right? Yeah. They weren't going to detach your face from your hair, like start all over, right? But what I do have to say is the cast was so compassionate and so generous. They knew what you were struggling with. So if I would, just sort of like go up on a line or something, they'd be like, it's totally fine. Just like take a deep breath. I know you have a headache today and there were days when I really was having headaches because there were like 3 bobby pins jabbing into, and that thing was heavy. So being able to work as a theatrical ensemble, that was a great quality. Didn't you find that as well? It was such a great quality about that show. Everybody was so well trained and so committed to the work and really wanted to tell a story. It was great. But the makeup was hard. And yes, you did feel it. It was temperature. You were in neoprene. Your hands were covered. Your head, your face, everything. You had on thick stockings and boots. And then they'd say, okay, go to your dressing room. We'll be back in a couple hours. You're like, no. I'm going to invent something for Star Trek characters so they can prop their head up and take a nap. It's really good.
One of the things that we like to do on this show is give the praises and their people their praises and their just adoration, because I believe that a lot of the times people get flowers after they've gone already and past the point, and we like to as they say, give flowers to people while they're still here. And I would like to give you your flowers for the excellent work that you did on this show.
Thank you.
Yes, absolutely. And the thing that I think was excellent about it was, one, your genuine portrayal of this character, I thought was spot on and emotionally connected with me as a viewer.
Thank you.
The other thing I love about your performance is the way you hold Dukat accountable. There's a certain level of emphasis that you put on that, where it's like, no, I'm not letting you get away with certain things that he's able to do with other people. I love that accountability. And also, your personality shines so much through all of that makeup that we just talked about. I read so much of your face through your eyes and your facial expressions. I thought were fantastic. So those are my flowers for you, Melly. Because
I accept them. That was such a nice mistake. Thank you.
Those are my flowers.
Feel free to send them to my door anytime you want.
Yeah, everybody that's watching right now is it looks like they've already arrived, actually.
Right. My favorite color.
But my question for you is about the relationship that you have with Mark Alaimo on screen. And where did that is that something you just jumped into the mix and you built it right there on set, or did you have? Tell me about it.
It was sort of, I think, just as in real life, when you know who you are and you're in relationship, something gets born from that happens nowhere else. It's an amalgam and it's an alchemy. And it's interesting because there was an natural intensity to Mark, and there was a natural gentleness to the character. But the way I played Ziyal, and even when I met with the producers, I had a very different take on Ziyal than I think anyone had. I saw her as the ambassador of peace. I saw her as a spiritual child that went through the challenges in life so that she could change the world with beauty. And who better to change than your father, who's tough and militant and unforgiving. And I think that the moral of our story was love conquers all. As I kept loving my father, even in my anger with him, he came to truly love Ziyal. And in that moment when the awakening happens, which I think, again, it's a spiritual lesson in this, right? It was sort of a spiritual storyline that, he would have to come to really understand forgiveness after that, because I was the gentle part of his life. So it was fun to play that with Mark, because Mark did have a very strong, direct personality that really helped me play my character, right? And it gave me something to push against. And then it gave him something to fall against that was gentle, So it was nice chemistry with us.
Yeah.
Wow.
Did you find it difficult creating Ziyal after two other actresses had already played her? Did you find a freedom to make it your own?
I got Walter. Sorry, you guys, I had my cat out here before. I got a piece of cat hair. Walter White, my cat. I'm sorry, what was the question again? That
the other actors that had played Ziyal in the past.
Oh no, not at all. Because first of all, I deliberately didn't watch them. But I think as actors, as storytellers, you have to know the core story and the overall objective in the world for your characters. So to sort of look at someone and go, I'm going to imitate them, or I'm going to go against what they did, isn't core to the story that you're trying to tell. Even when I read for the role and I met with the producers, I wore a sundress. Everybody else was in like combat boots and I wore a flowing sundress, and I sat on the floor on my knees like a child, right? Because to me, Tora Ziyal had been in an encampment for her childhood. She was like the flower that pushed through the concrete, right? And she knew something other people didn't know. So that if I couldn't play that story, I wouldn't have wanted the job, right? I was sort of one of those actors that I probably turned down more roles in my career than I did, because I wanted to produce art. I really wanted to be an artist, not just a working actor. After I signed a long-term contract on World Turns, I kind of learned something, that doing the same character every day is fun. But if you really want to evolve as an artist, you have to be able to do more. And you have to make decisions that are true, not only to the story you want to tell, but to the essence you want to give to the people watching. So yeah, I really didn't look for somebody else's portrayal. I just really wanted to tell the story that captured my heart.
That's really interesting. A lot of people say similar things about the auditioning process. Is somebody that just kind of came in and made a bold decision and did something that the others were not, or just interpreted the character in a better way than the other people that were auditioning. And Melissa, when you asked, if how different it was or how difficult it was playing it after a couple other people had already done it, I was thinking the same thing. Like, that seems like such an interesting thing. But Melanie, did anybody give you kind of put their arm on your shoulder or whatever and say, okay, so here is Ziyal's thing. Here's her future. She's going to die in the 6th episode. Like, did they give you the whole overarching story of Ziyal, or was it just kind of a day by day thing where you found it out as the script came out?
I got some of the story, but what was interesting was at one point, I was talking to one of the producers, and they were talking about the fact that they needed to kill a character.
Whoever it is.
And they did. And I said, kill me. And they were like, I go, yeah. I loved the role. I did struggle with the makeup and things, but I also really wanted to have a death scene. So I was like, well, kill me. And he's like, really? And I go, yeah, kill me. And so time after that progressed, and then the storyline came to fruition that they were going to kill me, and I was so excited. People were coming up to me going, like the other, my co-stars were going like, oh, I'm like, no, this is amazing. I'm going to die, and I'm going to get to do a death scene, so Shakespearean. I'm so excited. Yeah. So it wasn't, I did get some of the storyline, and I, my love relationship and things like that. But no, I was never told at the beginning, because I don't think that they knew then that I was going to die. I think it happened a period after, or I assume it happened a period after that conversation. And when I was at the Vegas 50th anniversary convention, so many of the other actors came up and said, thank you so much for dying. You saved our job. I'm like, happy to do it.
Real quick, some Star Trek fans might find that to be familiar, that something similar also happened in the first season of Next Generation. That was also said at the Star Trek Vegas convention, was that on Next Generation, they were going to kill off a character. And apparently, Marina Sirtis's Deanna Troi was the one that was going to get killed. but then Tasha Yar, I'm blanking on her name right now. What's her name?
Denise Crosby?
Denise Crosby, right. Thanks. She quit the show and thereby saving Marina Sirtis's fledgling career on the show. And Marina didn't know that until whatever it was, 20 or 30 years later. So it's kind of another one of those things. But anyway, Cirroc.
Because I think they actually wanted to renew my contract. And I had said to my agents, this is really hard for me to do. I'm struggling. I was on set at 4 a.m, and it was 4.5 hours of makeup. And it was a hard job for me. As much as I loved the character, I really wish I had Terry Farrell's makeup.
Or Nanaz.
Terry Farrell's ready to put a couple freckles on the side of her head. I would have stayed longer.
What you want is the Jake Sisko makeup. He was in there for 4 minutes. They would powder his nose and he'd walk right out.
Yeah, that's like fine. They're all around, but like it was tough. They teach you and you can fall asleep, but that was,
No, that's the common thing that we hear from everybody who had to wear extensive makeup. There's no way around describing their experience without talking about the makeup. It's that much of a consuming issue, right? It's like the number one issue.
And it's like it's just as if if you were in a period piece and you're wearing a corset and you have to change your physiology. That was a fun side of the role, right? But like when you do theater and you're in costume, you take it off after a couple hours. When you're on Star Trek, you could be there like from 4 a.m. and you might not get out till 7 o'clock at night. And it's hard. It's a hard experience to have to do that every day. So my understanding though, and it was a while ago, my understanding was that we were talking about renewing. And I had said to my agents, I'm struggling and I don't know that I want to renew. I think it's going to be hard for me. Physically.
Well, I'm glad that you did do this story and tell this story because it is an important story to be told. And I don't know if it's been done before, Ryan, you can correct me. But I believe that the story of a biracial person has never really been expanded upon until you show up. And we get to see somebody who's conflicting with both sides of their own identity, right? And I thought that you did a very good job of having the notes that were opposite to what the Kardashian tough notes are and the hard notes. You actually had all these subtle soft notes that made you wholesome and almost naive in a certain way. But did anybody kind of walk you through the idea of this biracial identity that we're trying to really get into and tell the story about?
I just want to say very quickly, sorry, because I know that if we don't, every Star Trek fan is going to beat down our door. We know Spock, yes. Half human, half.
Yes.
Okay.
Anyway, beyond that, please continue. Sorry.
It's a funny thing. We look at issues that we experience in life as a form of judgment, right? But when you're inside something, your objective is the same as everybody else's. So for a biracial character, and I imagine for a biracial person, our objective is to be loved, to be seen as we are and for who we are and what we are. And that our purpose is to help others grow and to see something in a different way. So by taking on as a storyteller, as an actor, what some objectified exterior goal is, I think destroys the essence of the character and the actor's choice, right? So knowing that she was these two worlds fed, I think, her sweetness, because she came to a point in herself where she had to love herself. She was alone in the world. But she was also one of those, like, there was something sort of like Godchild about her, right? That when I have a theory that children that are hurt get us their own special crack in the universe. that connects them to a higher source.
Mm-hmm.
And that is really how I looked at Ziyal. I looked at her as a child of God that had real purpose. And so that the biracial, it's funny, a lot of my characters were groundbreaking that I played. On World Turns, I was like the first cougar.
Nice. Very nice.
I was.
Right.
No other cougar on television, and what the heck? So,
wow, Cirroc, you really lit up.
I mean,
and it's great to be a cougar when you're like 26 years old, but whatever. So, Tora Ziyal was there to say, and I think I even say it in one of my scenes, is that's what I want to do.
Mm-hmm.
I want to bring these worlds together for a sense of love and beauty. And she felt chosen by that.
Mm-hmm.
Not chosen by that, not hindered by it. There was still that innocence, like you said, right? There was still that innocence about her.
Mm-hmm.
Wow,
that's definitely a lot of hope. She was always hopeful, and that really shone through. And I definitely saw her being the light or the bridge between these two conflicting societies, which was really beautiful because there wasn't anyone else like her that could fill that role. So, and you did that amazingly.
Thank you. And she was truly happy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
She found a home.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
She found a home.
Yeah.
And what's interesting is if you again look at it from either an archetypal story or a spiritual story, she died when her father was forcing her to leave her home, and she was never going to do that again.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So, if you really watch these episodes from an archetypal and a spiritual perspective, they're beautiful stories.
Mm-hmm.
With
it's like Shakespeare. I mean, this is and these are they're like a bunch of Shakespeare all tied into one big Shakespeare. It's amazing the depth of each character. But I see Ryan is sensing to say something, so I'll let you go, Ryan.
Oh, I got like 50 things to say. I did want to add a little bit more to your question, Cirroc, when you're mentioning, the biracial thing. I mean, just to add a more extreme version of what this is the fact that Bajorans and Cardassians basically hate each other. I mean, it's not just like, like in Spock's example, Vulcans and humans who live together in peace, or later on in Voyager, where B'Elanna Torres is the product of a Klingon and a human, which are allies. These are two enemies together. So as you were saying, you were like a child of peace, or like almost like a bridge or a symbol of the possibility between the two. But I also want to say that's some serious acting chops if you can go from a cougar to an innocent child of peace from one show to the next.
Yes.
That's what I'm saying about being an artist, right? Like it was so much fun to be able to play the characters that I played in my career, and to be able to switch that up and not have the same character for the rest of my life, right? That was what was fun about it. But, again, addressing that, even, how many timeless stories are told, right? Look at West Side Story that's being retold by Spielberg now, right? Like they hated one another, but what brings them together is the love of Tony and Maria, right? Yeah. It's always love that unifies, and there has to be a symbol of love between opposing forces. And that's, the work of an actor is to get the story right, because there's purpose in storytelling. And it's not just to like zone out with chips.
Right.
That was a show too.
Yeah.
You said ambassador of peace, and I would agree that that's what I felt your character was giving off. The energy was of peace, of resolution, of trying to bridge that gap. But I also think that it's important to say that you were created. I believe from the context of the show that you were created out of love, because I do believe Ducat loved your mother. The way he talked about her in previous episodes, he talked about her in a way where he was in love with her, and so you were created. You were created out of love. It wasn't kind of this, unwanted child in that sense. So, and then in this episode, I think, Ducat makes it clear. He says, when Damar is kind of saying, questioning your loyalty and saying that he believes that, you're conspiring with Kira. Yeah.
Am I allowed I'm sorry.
But, yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Real quick.
Ducat says, I'm sorry.
I was just going to say we got to jump to our break real quick, but I want to hear. It feels like there's a lot more to this, so we want to tackle it on the other side.
There is.
It's good stuff. So we're going to take a super quick break. Everybody at home, stick around. It's like a second and a half. You won't even know we're gone. We'll be right back on The Seventh Rule.